a spastic, some call.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for clicking on the video, for joining me for side 2 of this album, Magnetic Fields, Les Champs Magnétiques, Jean-Michel Jarre. Let's move on to the second half, which is going to be parts 2, 3, 4, and 5. By the way, I just really quickly need to say, I apologize for constantly mispronouncing Jean's name. I just like forget how to pronounce things sometimes. So Jean-Michel Jarre. I don't know why I was saying Jean-Michel. I don't know. Somewhere in my mind, the synapse was broken, synapse was snapped, and anyways. So we're gonna go ahead and listen to the second side here. I may stop it after every part, depending on how I kind of feel. If I think I want to say something about something afterwards, I might stop it, or I might let it kind of go through. I don't know. We'll have to listen to it. We'll kind of feel it out. We'll kind of go from there. But I hope that you guys enjoy the music. Hope I enjoy the music. And let's go ahead and get into it. Let's start with part 2. Ba-boom. All right, I'll let it lead into the next part. I just want to make a few brief comments on this. I love how we open up second side of the album. There is no space left given. Like, we are just straight out of the gates into the music. There's no ambient buildup or atmospheric lead. It is just sending you straight off with a little bit of a rocket jump. And I like Jarre's direction in this album. Like, you're still getting that kind of toy box, plasticky sound with his choices on the production end, with the synths and everything. But it's so playful, you know? I literally feel like he's gone into his synthesizer playbox, his chest, and just taken out all these synthesizers, lining them up around him like Wakeman with all his plasticky, wizardy stuff, and he's just going around, just playing each of them, coming up with different sounds, fine-tuning, pitching up, and just messing with it. Like, it feels experimental, but at the same time, with a goal in mind. Like, there's a certain destination and path that he's taking, and he has an idea of where he's trying to go, and I think it's fulfilled here in the music. But I just think, like, it's cool the way that he's experimenting with these sounds. And like, his music here, it doesn't sound, this is gonna sound bad at first, but I don't mean it in a bad way. It doesn't sound serious. And I mean, obviously it's serious musicianship and production and stuff behind it, but I mean, he's having fun. This sounds like I'm just hearing like toys, and I'm seeing toys being played, and he's just kind of like a kid in a candy shop, except he's a producer and a musician in a synth store. He's like, if you're gonna go to like a keyboard shop or a music store, and like, you know, like, for example, I don't know if they're international or not, but like, you walk into like a Guitar Center or a Sam Ash, whatever you play, guitarist, drummer, keyboardist, like, that's the section you go to, right? And what do you do when you get to that section? You start messing around with all the guitars. You start messing around with all the amps and all the pedals or all the synths, all the electric drums and the drum kits. You got to try them all out. You're like a kid in a toy store. With Jarre, I feel like I'm getting that kind of playfulness, that kind of like just wondrous, experimental take in his music. But of course, putting it and binding it to a conventional beat. He plays around with the drums a little bit. I like how the snares get a lot more rapid paced near the end, and you get a little bit of burst of that in the middle as well. But otherwise, this is a pretty straightforward conventional track on the rhythm section, but he's playing around with a lot of different melodies, a lot of different technologies going in here, as I also see, of course, on the equipment, which there are 5, 10, 14 at least listed here. 14 different synthesizers, sequencers, vocoders, etc., etc. There's just a lot going on in here. So opening up with a really fun track. Obviously, you heard some atmosphere coming in at the very end. So let me just back it up really quick, get to those last few seconds here on part 2, and let it lead into part 3. Obviously, it's transitioning to part 4, but we need to speak about part 3 really quick. Now, let me let me say something before we talk about part 3. During the music, I mentioned in the beginning, like it sounded like we were on this train set in the year 4000 when trains were outdated, and we were on the last train, like this rust bucket just traveling through the cosmos, because by the year 4000, I would imagine we're traveling through the cosmos. You know, like you're probably transporting somewhere by just the mere thought of it, as you got your Neuralink in your mind or something. I don't know. But either way, I had mentioned that, like, I wonder if Jarre was recording like on a train, just because it sounded so real, at least in my mind. I was like, maybe he just brought a recorder with him on a train and just kind of let the ambient sounds like be recorded, and then he kind of messed around with it a little bit, added a little bit of his magic to it. So I was just reading on the Wikipedia article while I was listening to that. Interesting. Just based on my comments on the last track. Interesting. It says here, for part 3, which we just listened to, it employs sounds from a toy box. And Jarre's collaborator, Michael Gase, recorded the sounds produced by trains that would be used in the album. I swear to you that I did not read that before listening today. I did not read that at all. So yes, he is on a train recording, or at least his collaborator Michael was. And even though it says that the toy box was used in this track, which you definitely get, you kind of get like a musical box kind of sound, or like a Jack in the Box kind of melody, like where it's actually being winded up or twisted, which I love how that's done in there. The last track, part 2, I did mention it sounded like he was in a toy box or pulling things out of a toy box. I swear I did not read that before. But at least I feel like I'm on the mark. I'm on point with this one. So getting back to part 3, yes, the train track situation I thought was a really cool way to build ambience, but also depth in the movement and in being transported somewhere. Then as we got to the wind-up toy musical box section, I love how that's the melody. Yes, it does have a kind of kiddish nature to it, which I like that. I like how the ambience of the train is kind of subverted with something a little more innocent and childish. And then the playful synths, of course, arising on the left and the right of that main melody, I think are just fabulous. I think that that's a really, really strong ambient track, or at least more of a minimalist track, I should say. It's not ambient, but it's more of a minimalist take than the previous one. However, as we heard, that beat started bumping in at the very end, so let's go ahead and back that up just a little bit, right about here, and let's let it transition into the next part, which is 4. Something's happening. Okay, let's talk about part 4. Let me talk about part 4. Let me guide you through my feelings, okay, as we were listening. First, I was interested. Then, I was kind of disappointed. Then, I liked what was happening. Then, I was left intrigued. I had a lot of feelings this particular track. But let me walk you through these 4 feelings. I was interested because I love the thumpiness of that bass. I love the beat that's coming in, driving this thing forward. Boom, 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 boom. Just that double tap, bop, bop, just moving this whole thing along. Strong bass behind it. And I was really, really curious to hear, okay, we have the rhythm section. What is Jarre gonna do now with the melodies on top, right? I was a little disappointed at the next part, because on top of that strong beat, that really, really driving rhythm, we had some more kind of light, wacky, plasticky sounds. And I was like, I like the sounds, but I felt like it didn't quite mix with the drive and the heart of that beat. Let me turn the volume down just a little bit and kind of come back to it. Like, I want to say it's like this bar. Not necessarily right there, but like a little. That beat is just so strong. I was like, I don't know. This didn't quite catch me. And that, all right. I skipped that part. That part where he raises the notes, did it kind of sound, I'm not a trained ear, so I may be off. Didn't it kind of sound like he played like a wrong note somewhere in there? I don't know if I caught it. It might be here somewhere. Here? Like right there. Doesn't it sound like he hits a wrong note? Like I said, it could be me. I have no idea, but it doesn't sound right. Regardless, I don't know. It was just, I guess, the rhythm set me up in a certain way, and I was kind of expecting something different. And I just didn't like how bouncy this was melodically. Like I said, I love the beat. Didn't love what was done on top of it right there. So I was like, okay. But then I liked it. Number 3, I told you, all the stages, right? I loved what he was doing around here. Now, it sounds maybe the same to you right now. This. See, the plasticky technique that we've kind of heard from a lot of his music is more relegated to the pinging going on in the sides, right? It's left with like just little details. It's an accent to the music. Now on the main stage is that driving rhythm, which I love, and now this kind of synthetic string, a synthetic violin or whatever it may be, whatever it is, it sounds great. It kind of gives the scope of the music a little bit more of like an epic, kind of adventurous sound to it. Like this sounds kind of almost soundtracky to me. This reminds me of Oxygen actually a little bit, just with a strong beat behind it right now. I think that that's really, really gorgeous, and I really enjoyed that particular section. Now, as we move forward through this track, you get back that, well, first you have like this kind of dissonance that kind of comes out of nowhere. That kind of reminded me of Peter Gabriel's Intruder for some reason. And then you hear some, I don't know if it's doors slamming or some sort of crashing noise that's happening. At that point, this snare starts to rise, and it's a very sharp, sharp snare. And after all the crashing happens, the snare hits in a way that almost sounds like gunshots. And I was like, what's happening? And then we get back to the train sound, and then we hear some voices, some pitter-patter, some pedestrian noise, which makes me think that we're at like a train station now. It was just really intriguing at that last part. Right? I don't know, but that's cool. That's cool. I like the ending. I'm kind of curious to see like where this kind of goes from there as we listen to that transition there from part 4 to 5. So let's go ahead and get that going. Let me skip ahead just a wee bit, and we'll let it move on into the final and last part, number 5. Turn the volume back up a little bit. I think that's good. Oh, I'm sorry. I just noticed that part 5 also has another subtitle alongside with it. So it is not only Les Chantiques Magnétiques, or Les Chants my French, Les Chants Magnétiques, part 5, but La Dernière Rumba, which translates to the last rumba. I'm expecting a little bit of a dancey beat to this one. This is like a Margaritaville. Okay. Can I tell you that was completely not expected, even though I saw the name of the track? I was not expecting that at all. We end this album with a bit of a trancey techno tango, if you will. I don't even, it came out of nowhere, and on one hand I'm like, it doesn't feel like it fits on the album. It sounds like a bonus track that you would have included on a later release and a remaster of the original album. It sounds like a special edition track that was thrown in, like one of his demos that was thrown in at the end of the album. But no, this is the last track of the actual original release. So I'm a little mixed on it. I guess on a level I like it. Yes, I like his playing. I like how melodic it is. It's almost sing-alongable if there were words involved. It's very catchy. I love the second half when he kind of changes it up a little bit. And it sounds a little closer to his style. It sounds a little closer to something I would expect from him. Because I guess this is what I'm getting at. The first half of this particular track kind of sounds like I don't know, like something you would hear in the background of a Jimmy Hula's in Key West. It sounds like something that would be on a playlist at some tropical bar, some, I don't know, outdoor beach kind of bar, a sandbar, something like that. It sounds like just kind of background music for that. I don't know why it reminded me of Margaritaville a little bit. Like I said, that has that kind of tropical sound. I do like the beat though and everything. But in that second half, which let me find it here. This right there, great break. When he gets into soloing on this part, the music kind of changes with the way that he's playing, and I really like this particular section. I love the melody here. There's a little bit more of an eeriness to it, as well on the percussion end. Like how he's playing with the pitch wheel or whatever he's doing to pitch it up and down. Like, that sounds a little bit more obtuse to me. That sounds a little bit more characterized by Jarre. I don't know. That sounds more like Jarre. The other half, the first half, sounds a little bit not pedestrian. Kind of just like normal, I guess. It doesn't sound like anything special, is what I'm trying to say. But on that back half, I do like how he experimented within that tango beat. And the way he played at the end there, I thought was really cool to listen to. So all in all, this is like a half and half track. I wouldn't like hate it or anything. It's just the first half is like, okay, that sounds cool. The second half is like, that sounds cool. There's a difference between that sounds cool and that sounds cool. Anyways, that is the end of the album. That is it. Magnetic Fields, Les Champs Magnétiques, Jean-Michel Jarre. I'm sorry. I keep on mispronouncing, and it probably won't be the last time. I hope I remember next time. Let me know what you guys thought of the album. Let me know your favorite track. Let me know your least favorite track. Let me know your overall thoughts on it. Of course, where to go next with Mr. Jarre. I know many of you have asked about Zuluk, I believe is the name of the album. That's one that has been recommended quite a bit besides this one. So perhaps at some point we will go ahead and explore that one as well. But for now, hope you enjoyed the music. Hope you enjoyed spending some time with me. Thank you for spending some time with me. You are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter. Subscribe. Like the video. Support me on Patreon. Give me a high five. I'll see you. That was dumb. I'll see you all later. Bye, guys.